Florida voters may decide whether or not to legalize medical marijuana.
Not Investigates found that in California, the abuse of the law there is rampant.
Amendment 2. They call it medical marijuana. And their story is simple. They say they just want to help the sick. But that's not the whole story.
We watched as over and over people came out carrying a white envelope with their prescriptions. But what was your medical reason?
I don't know, I can't sleep at night.
These teenagers also bragged to me about how easy it was.
What kind of problem?
Like, say that you can't sleep.
Your legs.
With that information, I went into a different office down the boardwalk. They asked for my driver's license. I then filled out a form, provided some personal information, and during my doctor consultation, was instructed to say I had trouble sleeping. There you go, the physician statement and approval for medical marijuana.
California has seen its experiment with medical marijuana quickly mutate into de facto legalization. And while Amendment 2 backers bemoan California comparisons, many legal observers and law enforcement officers are quick to note that Florida's Amendment 2 is in fact far more lenient than California's medical marijuana laws and fraught with numerous significant legal loopholes. On Amendment 2, the devil is in the details.
A vote for Amendment 2 is a vote for legalizing marijuana forever in the state of Florida.
Amendment 2 would be one of the most lenient medical marijuana laws in the country. Amendment 2 does not require what we call a prescription, and it does not require or even allow what would be a prescription under federal law or under state law, because that would be illegal.
Under Amendment 2, you'll get a recommendation. And I can tell you right now, your physician more than likely will never hand out permits for medical marijuana, but pot docs will.
Under Amendment 2, so-called medical pot could be obtained without a doctor's prescription. But what diseases would merit pot smoking? Almost anything. Among the diseases that would qualify for medical pot under Amendment 2, the measure also lists other conditions. This loophole effectively legalizes pot, paving the way for Sunshine State pot docs to recommend medical marijuana for conditions such as stress and trouble sleeping, which is exactly what's happening in other states, where fully 90% of pot smoking recommendations are for, quote, pain.
It is not meeting the standards of 21st century medicine. It's not going through any kind of process to make sure that it's standardized. There's no dosing associated with it. For people that are truly, truly sick, this is actually a dangerous combination for them.
Amendment 2 doesn't prohibit a pot shop from being next to the elementary school, the middle school, or the high school.
Where could we take our family? It's going to be everywhere. You're not going to be able to walk, turn the corner. This person in pain, that's what they're going to say. They had to go outside and smoke.
In 2010, an epidemic of prescription drugs, namely oxycodone, swept through the Sunshine State, killing thousands of Floridians, becoming what Florida drug czar Bruce Grant called the single greatest challenge to the state's public health and safety. 4 years later, swift legislative action has shut down Florida's pill mills. But that's not the end of the story. With its combustible combination of loopholes and generous legal protection for pot-peddling physicians, Amendment 2 threatens to replace pill mills with pot docs.
I served as a circuit judge, and I had the privilege of sitting over the first case in the United States where a doctor was charged with his prescription practices. He had a pill mill. From that one doctor, Santa Rosa County, a county of 80 to 90,000 people at the time, was the second county, only behind New York City, in the distribution of OxyContin in the entire nation. One doctor. And I could see the exact same thing happening with pot shops. It doesn't take but one doctor.
The reality of this situation is that you are going to have pot in your neighborhoods because there's no restrictions. You are going to have pot next to your local store. You're going to have pot next to your schools.
People may think that Amendment 2 will only affect other people. That would be wrong. Amendment 2 will be in our faces, in our neighborhoods, near our schools, near our restaurants, near our homes. It is not something that's going to be neat and clean and out of sight. It is going to be everywhere and unavoidable.
The most concerning thing for me for the medical marijuana constitutional amendment in our state is that there is no age restriction.
Children can use it, teenagers can use it, high school students can use it, college students can use it. As long as they can find a doctor who will write that certification and say they can get the drug, they can get the pot.
And they can obtain marijuana without your consent. That scares me as a parent.
What's going to happen with this amendment is that a kid will be able to access drugs without any oversight because it's not in the law, it's not in the amendment.
Though riddled with loopholes and plagued by fine print problems, Amendment 2's biggest malfunction can be found in the ballot summary itself, the word caregiver. When we think of a caregiver, someone legally licensed to dispense dangerous drugs, we tend to think of someone with medical training, someone with a degree, a special skill, or at minimum, someone with a relationship to the patient, but not in Amendment 2.
The amendment to caregiver as defined is just an individual that's 21 years of age.
No medical training is required, no background checks, no freedom from prior convictions.
It can be felons, drug dealers.
Joe Blow on the street.
No training, no responsibility.
It's not even like going and getting a driver's license because there isn't a test and it probably is just going to be on a piece of paper.
They don't have to be a family member, they don't have to live in the same residence.
And this baffles me. We're legalizing a drug dealer.
Amendment 2 is not about those that are very sick. It's about money for dope dealers.
If the Amendment 2 would be passed and I was able to be a caregiver back in the day that I was pushing drugs, you just legalized me to sell and distribute drugs to all ages. All ages. You would have never stopped me.
People need to be sure that they are voting on this actual amendment and not just on the concept that they think it represents or not just on a soundbite.
This is not about the medical use of marijuana. It is about legalizing marijuana.
Amendment 2. It legalizes drug dealers, allows teens to buy pot without parental consent, offers special legal protection to pot docs, and promises to plant pot shops in a neighborhood near you. Sure, they call it medical marijuana, but that's not what it is. A vote for Amendment 2 is a vote to legalize pot smoking in the Sunshine State.